Hi, this is going to be part 2 of my 3-part video review of the Floto leather cargo duffel bag, carry-on travel bag with the large size. This particular video, we're just going to focus on the outside of the bag itself. So we're going to talk about the leather, we're going to talk about the quality of the build, the accessibilities, the pockets. The second video is going to talk about the inside, and if you're watching this video, my first video is already up that gives you an overall view of the bag itself and an overall impression. So starting with the outside of the bag, we'll start where I typically start, which is with the shoulder strap that straps along on the back. You get 2 dog leash collar straps. In typical Floto fashion, these are basically universal straps you find on a lot of their products. It has a single rivet holding it in place, and there's stitching alongside. It is this calfskin vegetable tan leather along both sides sewn together. There is a buckle with 4 holes for you to choose the length of the strap. So as you can tell, with 4 holes, you get a limited choice in the number and size of the strap you want itself. So if you're extremes in height, very tall or very short, this may not necessarily fit you, but I think for the vast majority of people, it should work just fine. You get a shoulder pad with a nice little Floto logo on it. I actually have 2, one from my other bag, so you can tell, between the bags, these are literally the exact same product. It has 1 piece of leather stitched over to create a little hole for the shoulder strap itself to run through. On the pad along the backside, you get a nice suede leather, so it's basically, uncovered. This is really the only area where you get to see the underside of the leather itself and see this nice, I think it's probably pigskin suede that they have along here. The rest of the bag is either lined in a cotton twill or just the actual leather itself. So speaking of the leather, this is calfskin leather made in Italy. It is vegetable tan. So when you get the product itself and you smell it, it has a little bit of that vegetable tan leather smell. Being that vegetable tan leather doesn't exactly smell like what you would stereotypically think about how most leather products smell, which is actually the chemicals that use in chrome tan leather with a mixture of the glue that's used. So the vegetable tan leather has a bit of a stronger smell depending on what they use to tan it. So when you open up the bag, you get a bit of a strong smell to it. It's not horrible. It is certainly not anything like, goat leather or camel leather or anything like that, where it has this horrible smell that never really quite goes away. This leather itself has been thinned out during the production process. They have a nice little overview on their website. The reason they do this is to make a lightweight product. So when you're carrying this through the airport, the vast majority of the weight you're carrying isn't actually the leather bag itself. It would be great to have full thickness leather, but I can tell you my experiences with Saddleback, having a full thickness leather bag that is completely full with everything you need to carry, bringing it through an airport, such as if you're going through O'Hare, if you're going through Midway, I've gone through Atlanta with it. You're walking miles and miles, and these bags get incredibly heavy on you if they haven't really had the leather thinned out. So I would love a product that I could carry all along that is completely full thickness and hasn't had the leather altered in any way. But honestly, this is the type of product you need. So let's look along the outside of the bag itself. There are 2 nicely made carrying straps. If you look, it has a very good drop height to this strap. So this is an area that I feel like most leather bag makers for male bags don't do well. So for female bags, and even like Saddleback, which makes male and female bags, the female bags have a great drop height, meaning that the height between where your hand holds it to where it meets the bag, it makes it a very comfortable height in which when you hold the bag next to your body, it just rests very comfortably in a very natural position. But I find in male leather bags particularly, they tend to shorten the drop height, I guess, to make it look more manly. So it doesn't have, a massively long handle, which I guess looks more feminine. The problem and the sacrifice you make for that is it becomes really uncomfortable to carry. The perfect example is Saddleback's side pocket duffel. The drop height of the single handle they have at the top is way too short. It's so short that when you're carrying it, the bag is literally being held away from your body by your hand, and you get so much strain on your shoulder and it becomes incredibly uncomfortable and heavy. Well, if they had made it with a reasonable drop height, such as with the Floto, with it that far down from your body, because it is a longer distance away, the angle of your shoulder from, or your arm from your body is a smaller angle, which means it's a much more comfortable bag to carry. And that's really what you need. So I love the drop height on this. It doesn't look feminine, but at the same time, it is very, very functional. The other thing I love about this, and Floto puts this on a lot of their bags, is they have a sewn on little, kind of cover that you can use to hold the individual straps together. And this is genius. It is just something that's really small and kind of insignificant during a production process, but in everyday use, it's so nice to be able to hold your bag without having a death grip, hoping that the straps don't fall over and then suddenly you're holding your bag by one strap and it's tilted at a crazy angle. With this nice little holder here, you can hold the bag really, really comfortably. It also creates a thicker handle by itself. So now you don't have two individual thin leather straps digging into your hands. What you have is one handle that combines the two and is far more comfortable. If you look, my hand fits very comfortably around this. It gives you a really nice grip and a firm grip, and it gives you a lot of confidence in this handle that you're holding without you having to create by itself super thick and large handles. So I love it. I think it's a very small attention to detail that clearly shows they have a lot of experience in this field and they've spent a long time thinking about the individual design choices. Otherwise, the bag itself along the outside is the same calfskin leather, vegetable tan Italian leather that you see on most of the Floto bags. They have multiple colors. This is the color I always tend to get, this brown color. I love it because it is tough. So it reminds me a little bit of the older chestnut that you see on a lot of saddlebags. It's a beautiful color of the leather. It has a lot of depth to it. It has a lot of beauty. You can see a good amount of the leather coming through underneath. You can see some of the scars, some of the scratches and bites that the cow itself had. But beyond that, it is also extremely tough. You can't really scratch this leather. It's also really soft and supple to the touch. So it just feels really good in your hand. It has a very nice hand feel to it. It is a lot more like, I would say, the candy-coated type of saddleback leather than that raw kind of velvet tobacco that sometimes people go after. This handle scratches far better. It doesn't really get scuffed up. It looks great. And unlike saddlebags candy-coated, it doesn't look plastic at all. You can look at it and you know immediately that this is leather. But this is clearly finished and has a lot more finishing on it to keep it from being damaged. It has a very hard bottom panel that I think they put some sort of material underneath to make it a bit more stiffer. It gives the bag itself its shape, and it also has 5 brass feet along the bottom to help hold up the bag. This keeps the bag from scratching when you have it and you're traveling around. You can throw this bag onto any surface and not worry about scratching the leather. And even if it is a rough surface, such as being on a sidewalk, being on that concrete, and you're worried about that scratching and scuffing up all your leather, with the feet itself, it keeps you from having to do that. The feet are what make contact with the ground, and it kind of protects a little bit this leather. But this leather is tough enough that you really can't scratch it or cause significant damage. In my other older bags, I've thrown them around. You can see there are gouges in the leather, but the leather itself is completely strong and hasn't given. It's just, had a little bit of gouges that show up, but nothing at all that affects the integrity of the leather itself. The bag also comes with individual points for the shoulder straps to clip onto. These are little D-rings that are riveted on as well as sewn on with those strips of leather. Along the outside, you also have several pockets. So you have this front pocket here, which has a nice little zipper to it, and it gives you a little holding area here. You have a mirror image of that pocket along the back. And along the sides of the bag itself, you have 2 larger pockets also with zippers. So when you talk about using more hardware in these bags, you always want to know what the quality of that hardware is, right? Leather like this itself is not going to be the first part to fail. If something on this bag is going to fail, likely it would be the zipper, which means that the manufacturer of a good leather bag for travel is going to use very good zippers. And Floto has always used pretty solid zippers. I've never had an issue with a Floto zipper before. It's never caught on me, it's never torn on me, it's never fallen apart, and I treat my bags pretty tough. You know, I throw them around. I don't really baby these bags. That's part of the reason why I love it. Some of my saddlebag bags I have to baby when I'm traveling with them, but these zippers do just fine. And it seems like the zipper is catching a little bit, I think, when you listen to it, but what it actually is there's a lot of give to this leather. This bag isn't full, so there's a little bit more bends in the zipper itself. But even with this, with me just really forcing it along all the folds, it still holds its own. There is no issue with the teeth or the quality of the zipper itself. I'm pretty confident that these zippers are going to hold and stand up with the test of time. Beyond just that, Floto has a lifetime warranty, so if these zippers do fail, you could always just send these bags back, have them replaced, and get a replacement bag. And it sounds like, you know, talking and having dealt with Floto, I don't really think having these zippers service is going to be an issue. This company seems like a company that's going to be around for a while. They have very good reviews online, and they've clearly made a good amount of capital investments into a lot of different bags. So I think this is a company that is, you know, very much investing in its future and probably wants to keep customers happy. So if you do have failures in individual parts, I think Floto would be more than happy to get those taken care of. So this is part two, I'm sorry, of my 3-part video review of the Floto leather cargo duffel bag, carry-on travel bag, size large.